Depois também fica gravado no vídeo do YouTube. Isso,
Pois a doutora Mariana tentava aqui em júris de provas de doutoramento, ainda há tempos a convidei para um júri.
Mas ela contou, sabe dizer, então vou ir para Coimbra, estou a regressar a Coimbra de um doutoramento. Então
E
isso.
foi coitada tão tarde. Sai de 100
Ela
daqui
fez um
às...
grande trabalho à frente da faculdade, eu acho, e agora a professora Margarida está a continuar, mas a faculdade também tem mudado muito e, portanto, isto vai crescendo, tudo é diferente.
Não é?
Mas
Mas quem vem
sabe que agora estou muito entusiasmada. O mestrado de MediMare corre muito bem. Nós estávamos em quarto lugar no ranking mundial, passámos para o primeiro. Este ano ultrapassámos Singapura, ultrapassámos Sydney, ultrapassámos Copenhague e Roterdão.
Portanto, o direito do mar tive
coisas
todos
interessantes.
Não era que havia, tinha um direito internacional público, falávamos um
Nós temos uma muito boa cadeira de direito do mar, mas depois temos o direito marítimo também, mas depois temos também a vertente económica, que é dada por pessoas dessa área.
eu vou colocar esse vídeo depois que o vídeo encerrar. Eu vou colocar o fundo e depois eu começar a falar.
Hello. I would like to welcome you to the MediMare Symposium. Today is a joyful day because a well-succeeded project in which I had the pleasure of participating is coming to an end. And this end is truly a new beginning, as this project is the first story for many other projects and studies in maritime and ocean issues at the University of Coimbra Legal Research Institute. I'm sure that these 2 days will provide important moments for reflection and progress in maritime fields. I feel honored of introducing my colleague of this inaugural moment, Professora Assunção Cristas, an associate professor at Nova School of Law and coordinator at the master degree in Law and Economics of the Sea, Ocean Governance, where she also lectures on ocean policies. Professor Cristas is also director of Nova Ocean, a knowledge center dedicated to maritime research that was established in 2021. Her interests are focused on sustainability, legislative and development. From September 2009 to January 2020, Professora Cristas held several political positions. She was Minister of Agriculture, Sea, Environment and Land Use Planning, which also gave her a very important insight on maritime affairs. Professora Assunção Cristas, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Professor Maria José Capelo. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you at our alma mater, the University of Coimbra. I'm very thankful to Professor Dulce Lopes for the invitation to join you in this inaugural session. And I just wanted to share with you some thoughts that obviously has to do with my political background and what I've done, but nowadays what I can observe either from an academic point of view at Nova School of Law in the coordination of the Master's Degree in Law and Economics of the Sea, but also at VBA, the law firm that I joined 1 year and a half ago, almost 1 year and a half ago, where I coordinate the environmental practice area, which includes the ocean. And this angle is really interesting to see what is happening right now in the ocean from a private investment perspective. And the first thing I would like to share with you is this idea that the ocean is becoming a very crowded space. So we are here at a program at MediMare, supported by the grants, which I know quite well. I've been in Norway several times and agreed this program in Portugal in that moment. And the idea, I guess it's a consensual idea, is that we do have to move into the use of the maritime space and of the maritime resources, the marine resources, but we have to do it in a different way and with sustainability concerns. This addresses to every single different activities that we can develop and perform in the ocean. It is applicable to fisheries and shipping. I would say that the two most traditional activities in the ocean, but it is applicable to aquaculture. There is a good way and a bad way to perform and to develop aquaculture. It is applicable to the use of marine resources, the living marine resources for many different activities and many different, I would say, replacements of old materials. I'm thinking about how to use algae for replacing plastic materials, or how to use different marine biotes for nutraceuticals, cosmetics, for pharmaceutical activities, for proteins, and for adding other angles to our own food and also feed. So when we look around, and I'm not thinking, I could be also addressing, but I'm just focusing this living resources part. But if you can look at data, robotics, autonomous vehicles, and how do they combine, we have a huge amount of opportunities facing us. And these opportunities, I guess, do have a common setup and a common ground, that is sustainability. Having said this, the big challenges, and we're talking about mediation, or you will be talking about mediation, is how to combine these different activities in a crowded space. Once a newcomer wants to step in, being that for aquaculture or for research or for recovery of ecosystems, namely to address the carbon sequestration issues and to enter the voluntary carbon markets, or if you think about other possibilities, for example, water farms that are being envisaged at the bottom of the ocean, or if you want to have the wind farms and to combine these wind farms, and we can talk about wind, but we can talk about wave energy, that we imagine that would be a reality also in the coming years, then we need to address the occupation question and the combination of uses. And of course, the legislation gives us some help. In Portugal, we have legislation, either a law and a decree law that develops this framework law on maritime spatial planning and management, and tells us that once we have different uses fighting for the same space, we have to use some criteria. And these criteria are namely the possibility of combination of different uses. If we have one single use that will take all the space and another use that is able to be combined with others, this will prevail. Because once we need to find out space and devote it to a private use, this means that we are at the same time enabling others to come to that space. For example, fishermen, if we're talking to areas where they would have an activity. So this possibility of planning and management and having a dynamic management, namely through relocation of some activities because of others coming in that might address these topics in a different way and in a way that we find more interesting from the public policies point of view and from a legal point of view. We need to find mechanisms to do that. Of course, the legislation tells us that we need to have public consultations, that we need to have moments where all the people can share their thoughts and their positions and their interests, so that at the end, there will be a resume, there will be a result coming out of this. But these are very relevant topics. And whether if we want to decide if we're moving into a new activity, is that possible? Will that be good, not only from a possibility of combination with other users' point of view, but also, and that is the first layer from a sustainability point of view, we're not able to develop activities in the ocean if they do some kind of significant harm to the environment. We need to make sure that we maintain the good quality of the environment and of the water and of the ocean, the water column, the sea bottom, and so on. We need to arrange, I would say, formal and informal moments to make sure that these dialogues and these discussions are held in a proper manner with some rules, and mediation might bring these rules in, so that at the end, all the positions are being considered and the solutions are understood by everybody and are, at least, if not everybody agrees with that, because that would be very difficult, at least there are points clear, justified, and that everybody can accept. Agreeing more or less, but can accept because they do make sense. I would say that this is, from my point of view, the very challenging issue for the coming years in the ocean. We have a lot of activities, the old ones, the new ones. Every day, new activities, new ideas are coming in. We are in the moment of collective intelligence and collective possibility of scaling up ideas in the way of aggregating others and make this innovation process and this installation of new activities, which in sometimes require installation of devices in the ocean. This will be done at a very high speed, that's my guess. Why? Because the ocean has the possibility to resolve or at least help to answer to very strong human challenges that we face nowadays. Climate change, I would say, being one of them, but also food security, food in quantity, in quality, and at an affordable price for everybody. And the world is growing in population, so there's a huge challenge in food. Energy, as we know, and also with this transition, energy transition challenge and compromise, and at least from the European perspective, it is not only a political compromise, but it's also a legal obligation under the European climate law and under the Portuguese climate law, I would say. And I would like to add water, fresh water, drinkable water, which is something that now we are facing very strongly in Portugal. In other areas of the globe, we have that. In Portugal, with the droughts, with climate change, the sources of water, namely desalination, will come in as a new challenge. So how can we combine all these things in the ocean that is three-dimensional? So we have the surface, we have the water column, we have the sea bottom, we have lots of things already happening there. We have cables, we have ducts, we have shipping lines, but we will have wind farms a lot, we will have aquaculture, maybe combining with wind farms, that would be a very good idea. We do need to remove carbon from the atmosphere, and we know that the oceanic ecosystems are the most effective ones in doing that. So nature-based solutions. We need to have fresh water, and desalination using the pressure well below in deep water might be an interesting option. We know that there is really a lot of people innovating and bringing new solutions, bringing new vehicles, bringing new ideas and possibilities of combining data, which means, and also combining with Earth observation and what we have in the ocean, which means that a big challenge for the law, for the legal framework, combining the national with the European and the global framework, combining with the very relevant challenge of humanity, and also with this idea that everything changes, but human nature hasn't changed that much, and we're still the same. We continue to have the same needs. We continue to have the same aspirations. We continue to feel that what we want is to live better in better conditions in a more equitable manner, with health and joy, hopefully. And the ocean can bring us a lot of that. So how can we use, in a sustainability manner, this resource? How can we develop a truly sustainable blue economy? And how can we bring mediation to make sure that everybody shows its point of view, that everybody at the end understands what we're doing, and we do have consensus and we do have compromises. I think there's a huge field for mediation, not only of the classical maritime affairs, but of the broad new affairs that will be installated every year in the ocean. That's my guess and my challenge for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's relevant topics and inputs for the project. Ocean is the main theme of today and futuros. Thank you very much, Professora Assunção Cristas, for your presence here, and I will see you another time in our projects of faculty, and I hope.
It'll be a pleasure.
So let's switch the tables. Okay, so let's move on to the presentation of the main outputs of the project. 2 minutes till everything is organized, and then the participants may come to the floor. Okay, thank you.
Não, eu já vou pensar. Eu tenho que ir, mas que acho que aí não dá. Voltamos.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for being here to discuss the main outputs of the MediMare project that started in January of 2022 or final of 2021, and it was a very interesting project. Not only because we have the pleasure to meet new people from Norway, and it was until this project I really didn't know anyone from Norway. It was a big pleasure. Yeah, you are nice actually. I'm joking, but it's true. It's quite interesting because when we talk about mediation, when we work with mediation, one of the biggest issues is the different culture and how we deal with conflicts. So it's quite interesting to work just with two cultures, but that can be so different and at the same time so equal. So it was really a good pleasure. So the MediMare project, and you will hear about this project during these 2 days. The main goal was to realize if mediation, when applied to specific maritime conflicts, should be different, has to be different, is the same, requests different techniques, or is like solve family conflicts or contractual or commercial conflicts. So the main goal is to realize, first of all, if mediation has advantage in solve maritime conflicts, and in second place, it was to realize what are the specificities, or if maritime mediation should have specificities. So in this table, we will discuss some of the outputs. So these were the main goals and what we think in the project. We think in several activities, and I just will speak about the intensive course that finished today in Leiria. I will not bore it so much because we have more than 20 students that has to lead with me during the last 10 days, so I will not bore you so much, because the project has a line of events. We start by an online course that Sylvia will talk about more than I, because it was one of the main responsibles about that task. And the idea is also to understand what are the differences between online training and face-to-face training, how to deal with how to transmit, how to transfer knowledge through online platforms, and how to transfer knowledge during 10 days in one room, making some role plays, give some theoretical classes. So I will focus now just in the intensive course. The intensive course, as I already say, happened during 10 days. It started at 19 until today. And we mix practical and theoretical classes with seminars, people that, professors or professionals that work in maritime fields, and that gave the perspective of solving conflicts through dialogue. So it is quite interesting. Of course, then students can speak by themselves, but I think it was quite interesting to mix theoretical classes with seminars, and people will talk about their experience in the professional life. And I think that for me, it was interesting, and for me, when I was making the schedule of the course, for me, it seems that makes sense to mix both things. This course had 55 hours in total, 45 hours of work for 10 hours of activities and autonomous work. We invited Navy commandants, mediators of the European Bank of Investment. We have several different trainers. We have the lucky that they accepted to participate in this online course. So I think it works. The idea was never, and this is a issue, the idea was never to train or to have at the end 20 maritime mediators. That's not the idea. The idea was to give you the perspective that mediation could be applied to maritime conflicts, okay? The idea was for you to understand if you really want to be a mediator, so you can develop your knowledge and do a training to be mediator. The idea was also to realize for us as researchers, to realize if a maritime mediation training should be so specific, or it was what we will discuss now in the research team, if people should or students should do a general mediation course and then have, for instance, more than 20 hours of specific training in maritime mediation, should be already from the beginning a maritime mediation course specific in this area. So this is the issues, and I want to read what you write in your survey in order to realize what makes sense in future. Should we have a specialization in maritime mediation in the course specific to this area, or should we make a mediation course general and then have some syllabus regarding maritime conflict? So for me, it was a quite the experience. This project was really enlightened the ideas that I have already about mediation. And I just want to thank and give a special word to Dulce, that is our leader, that bring us together, and that bring us together. And thank you so much for our partners in Norway. Thanks a lot for the partners in Portugal, Roberta, Ana Paula, everyone, Sylvia, Fernando, everyone that worked in this project. For me, it was amazing experience, and I'm grateful for, because I'm working in mediation for 20 years from now, and I'm still learning, and that is quite amazing. So thank you so much for all the experience.
Okay. To get out of this. É que a minha é outra. Deixa-me só. So many windows open.
The online coursework.
So I would pick up on Katya's last words and thank Dulce for always challenging me into the most unobvious or less obvious themes for me, because I'm from education and not from law or ocean mediation and maritime mediation. So she has, this is the second project I am in that she challenges me into themes that I'm not into. And it's been a great honor working not only with the entire team, but especially with Dulce, because she always pushes us to all the limits and to learning always more, even when we're out of our comfort zone. So as Katya said, we had an online course for this project. I worked on this project with two other colleagues, João and André, who could not be here. João was just a father of two a month ago, and so he's very busy right now, and they could not be here. But this is a team effort, and I'm just going to go over just 4 brief topics: the distance learning approach we had on this course, and in general how we work; the course development and delivery, how we worked with this team of researchers to develop this course; the student satisfaction, so how students perceive this course during its delivery; and the future of the course, because we hope it does have a future. So, as I was saying, the distance learning unit was the unit of the university that supported this activity, and we are a unit that was created in 2010 at the university, and our core business is to develop non-degree courses for the university training offer, but also to support researchers and professors in developing courses and resources within international and national projects. So this was our role in this project. And why do we participate in these projects? Well, first it's obviously so we can do some benchmarking and cooperate with the institutions and the academics in developing more research and more knowledge to improve the higher education system itself. And then we also want to position ourselves in the higher education scenario in Europe and internationally, and share practices, networking, and all the obvious reasons of contributing to change in higher education. So what was the MediMare online course? So it was a 54-hour course. It was all delivered online, so it was totally asynchronous, online, and self-paced. So students could do the course within a time frame from 13th of March to 13th of May. They could do it at their own pace, at their own rhythm, and as long as they complied with this deadline. We estimated about 1 hour of student effort per day during this period so they can meet the goals of the course. How do we work on this project? So what we do is we work on the course with all the academics that are going to develop the scientific content and who are the ones that are the specialists in the scientific content. And it's a work that has a lot of iterations. We work with the academics on a very close relationship, producing the contents, reviewing the contents, and all this coming back and forth with an evaluation system that goes all from conception of the idea to the evaluation of the course in the end. So we follow the model that we actually use at the distance learning unit for our courses. So MediMare course was composed of 4 modules, which were sequential, and we implemented it in the online platform. It was organized, and you can see here on this page the entry page of the course, and we had so 4 modules that are presented with some guidelines for the students, which are pedagogical guidelines. So a summary, the outcomes that students should reach, and a roadmap so they know exactly what to do at all times. We had 227 students enrolled, and 160, I'm sorry, I need to put my glasses on, 168 students accessed the course, which was 74% of that total of students enrolled, and 102 students completed the course, which was 60% of the students that actually accessed the course. And we might say, okay, but this is not so good because we had a lot of students that didn't go all through the end. But it actually is good because when we look at MOOCs, for example, that have that are completely free, as this course was, and that are completely self-paced and self-regulated, the percentage of completion is 10%. So we would say that 60% was very, very good. And we can see here that the interaction with the contents and the interaction and the completion of activities was actually quite good. And students really went through the contents and they interacted with the content, they achieved the goals of the course and completed the activities almost in full. So we, out of the 102, we had very few students that didn't complete successfully all the activities. They still passed, but only 2 of the, so we have 99 in module 4, 100 in module 3, and 101. So we have 2 or 3 students that didn't pass one of the activities, or didn't complete it. So it was quite good. I think it's a good outcome for the course. So what we also do in this course, and which is normal when we have these projects, we need to also evaluate the perception of the students. And so we applied at the end a questionnaire, a satisfaction questionnaire, and it was a questionnaire that evaluated different dimensions. So we had the learning platform, of course, usability, the experience with the user experience with the platform, the course itself, so content, activities, the resources, the instructors' performance, and the feedback that the instructors gave to the students. And we had very positive feedback here, and I commend Roberta because she was the one who was always there and pushing for students to keep their presence active on the online platform. We always gave the technical and the pedagogical support, but Roberta was there answering their questions, challenging them when they were more silent. And this is one of the very important roles of the online moderators and tutors of courses, because it's very important that when we feel that students are somehow becoming absent, as we do in classes, but it's so different because you can't just say, hey, pay attention. They're out there somewhere and they're quiet. So you need to pull them back and catch their attention. And Roberto was there all the time, throwing challenges at them to reply. And so this is a very important, and there was very good feedback on this. So, and the overall satisfaction, like what were the most interesting topics they had in the course that they thought they were the most interesting for them, the most important and useful topics, and the strong and weak points. We are going to have a report on this that we will provide with all the results. Of course, I wasn't going to present everything here, but you will have access to the results of the satisfaction evaluation questionnaire. We've already completed the report, and it's very interesting to see the students' feedback on these points in specific. And then we also measure their expectations and the knowledge they had prior and after the course. So in the question, where did the course meet your expectations? So here we had an 85% rate of students that answered the questionnaire. So we had, I don't know if I said, we had 56 answers. This is also normal in satisfaction questionnaires. But I think it wasn't so bad because 56 in 102 that completed the course, I think it's very good. So we had 85% here of students, of the total students that answer, that said that the course exceeded or greatly exceeded their expectations. So this is a very positive indicator for the future and for the review we will do on the course. Also, we asked them to state their knowledge on the topics covered before and after the course. And you can see, so in light blue is their knowledge before, and in darker blue is the knowledge after. So we have a great increase here in the knowledge they admit they have acquired with this course. And also another indicator, which we think is also very important, is would they recommend the course to other students and other interested persons in this topic? And 100% of the respondents answered yes. So this is also very good. So what were the strengths and the weaknesses that students pointed out, and which are very important for us to look at the course now at the end and to go over it and think about a new edition and improvements for a new edition. So they thought the contents were well organized and very relevant. The platform was user-friendly. The case studies was very often, and I analyzed the results myself. So they pointed out, many students pointed out that the case studies were very important to have a perspective of real application of the knowledge and of the contents in real situations. The variety of resources was also pointed out, and of course the flexibility and self-paced mode, because we had students from everywhere, and even from Portugal we have students from different locations. So the model of delivery of the course was very positive for them. The weaknesses, which I think are relevant but also explainable, is the weak interaction, which is normal in a self-paced course. So it's more difficult because everyone is at a different pace, so interaction will be a bit different. But also the role of the tutor and of the professor is very important here in trying to improve this. And I think from the beginning of the course till the end, this improved throughout the time of the course. Also, the absence of some videos in the modules, the formative quizzes. The course had formative and summative quizzes. So at the end of each module, there was a summative quiz, a final test. But in between the contents, there were also formative quizzes that enabled students to self-regulate their knowledge, their learning. And some students pointed out. But I must say that these weaknesses were pointed out by very few students. So it's important that we look at the results, but it's also important to see the expression in numbers of occurrences in the mentions that were done in the course. And some students pointed out the overlapping of contents. So to sum this up, the overall feedback, as I said, was the easy use, the course organization, the feedback. So I'm not going to go over this because it's based on what I've been saying. But of course, the most relevant is that we think that there was a transfer of knowledge, and that they do think this will be applicable in their future in academic terms, in professional terms, both in their life as students and later on as professionals. So the future of the course for us, we will now take into consideration, and the research team will work with us on this. So we will take these results, take the perceptions of those that developed the course, of the researchers. We will take the perception also of our pedagogical team and the feedback and the experience we have, and also combine this with all the MediMare outputs and what has been developed within the course. And we will go and foster course improvement, course sustainability, so we can again go back into let's say business and deliver this course again to those that will be interested in it, students, academics, and researchers. So these are the faces of the team, and thank you. And I don't know if you have any questions. I'm sorry, I talked too much.
You never talk much than the lawyers.
Go on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Am I on?
Yeah. Is it working? No. No, yeah.
Hello. It's really great to talk in this church. I want to say thank you. First, I'm Kristin Steffensen. I'm from New Social Research in Norway. And I really would like to say thank you for being able to be a part of this project, for being invited into MediMare and into this wonderful research group and area. So my main and my team's main aim of this project was to understand how mediation could be a part of the maritime industry or a part of the maritime arena and topics. And so our tasks have been primarily, perhaps I could say twofold, to find use some methods for understanding the maritime industry and how that could be applied to mediation or ready for mediation. And for that, Stian, who is here, and Turger, sadly I don't have pictures of them. But we created a taxonomy to be as a tool for analyzing whether a situation, a condition, or a conflict could be suitable for mediation. And it was made as suggestions of important categories for in a conflict. We had several suggestions for actors for different categories or topics and different grades of severity and different parts or topics of severity too. And this was made as a roadmap, as some of the students said, or as a guide in order to have some kind of analysis pre-mediation or perhaps also during mediation for the mediators or in the group of persons in the mediation process. I'm not going to go into that. I think Stian is showing the taxonomy tomorrow. The other activity was interviews. We have been doing interviews in several countries, and several of you have been doing interviews. In Norway, we did 13 of different lawyers, mediators, maritime industry persons, both in management, ship owners, and a couple of seafarers, to understand how mediation, if it's a good idea, how could it be, and what should a mediator be, and how to educate someone like that. And all except one said that it is a good idea. Maritime mediation is a good idea. And as we know a lot about, the mediator should be a trustworthy person, someone with the legitimacy and competence in at least one field of importance, perhaps not in all fields of importance in one dispute. However, they were reluctant to be positive in thinking that this could be, that it's actually doable. So I think there is where we will go from, or need to go from here. It is to understand the structures needed to implement mediation more in the maritime industry. So we do have some tools here in order to understand the conflicts and to educate the mediators. But we also need more both communication, where to find the mediators, who they are, but also perhaps incentives for the industry, how to use it, and perhaps some regulatory structures where something could be mandatory, or at least you could use either the carrot or the stick to implement or make more actors in shipping or maritime industry use mediation more. I like the first speaker here and all the various topics that is upon us now and the various issues that we need to handle. And I do think that mediation is going to be really important. So perhaps that is the next step. It's MediMare 2 is to understand more of international regulatory system or where we could push the mediation button. We do need mediation in a system that is available and mediators that are legitimate.
Mhm.
So I think we're on the right way.
I just want to add, because we are waiting for Lee, I don't know if she will get there, but just add a few questions regarding the interviews. The interviews were very interesting because it is interesting to realize how the industries say you will never solve any conflict by dialogue. I prefer a judge. But we interview a captain from Figueira da Foz, and he said, "Please solve my conflicts through dialogue and with mediation." But I totally agree with Christine. We have to think how to implement, because in general, the people agree that mediation is the better way to solve maritime conflicts. It's faster and since it's based in the interests of parties will feel more comply, or they will comply the agreements easily than a sentence from a judge. I totally agree. It was very interesting. Thank you for talking about the interviews, because it was a very interesting task that we implement, or that we concrete in this research project. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I don't know if you have any questions. Do you have? Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this presentation of the outputs of the project. Professora Lia Vasconcelos will talk tomorrow in the event. She was either today, but unfortunately she cannot be here yet. But tomorrow she will do a bit more than what was expected from her today, because she has to join in both presentations. And I have here a certificate and a small gift from the University of Coimbra, and also here to Sylvia and to Katja. So let's change tables to the next part, which is the opening of the exhibition Countries of the Sea.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being present. For this panel, we'll do a small presentation about the exhibition that we organized, Countries of the Sea. The idea for this exhibition was to put together the countries that were involved in this project. The idea behind it is it's very much connected to the EA grants communication plan, and also the idea of communication plan for the project itself. That is, we are talking about mediation. So we are talking about dialogue, about partnership, about understanding. So we consider that it would be very important for us to understand a little bit of the culture of each country, of each partner, and what connects both countries. So we have partners from Portugal and from Norway, and then we started discussing a little bit about what was this connection, especially through the sea. That was the main issue of the project. So after some initial thoughts, we decided to share or to connect both countries through the codfish. Portugal has a long history of cod fishing. Norway also has some history about the codfish industry. So we decided that we would connect through the codfish industry, the codfish fishing, and some of the cultures about fishermen that was interesting for us. So the idea is that if we know each other, if we know other people, then we will be more inclined to have conversations, to dialogue. So, and the whole idea of the mediation, about the active listening, about proposing. So that was the general idea of this exhibition. So during this process, we as a university, we are not the experts on exhibitions. So we are not museums, but we are very glad and very lucky to collaborate with experts on the matter. And I have here in this panel with me, Ana Paula, who is from the municipality of Figueira da Foz, the ethnographic group or ethnographic museum. The translation of núcleo is a little bit hard sometimes, but it's an ethnographic museum about fish and the fishermen, the fishermen sea, she did organize an exhibition, a video exhibition about the fish cultures in Figueira da Foz. And also I have here in the panel Sandra Patricio from the municipality of Sines and Antonio Campos also from the municipality of Sines, who were responsible for the exhibition that's outside. And I will, in a bit, I will invite them to speak and present about what they work. So I'll give the word to Ana Paula to explain a little bit what was done.
English is not my best language. I will try only to say, to thank you very much for this invite. I only wanted to present Figueira da Foz, the past of Figueira da Foz, and the actuality. I think the video is very short video with photographs of the past, of the memories of Figueira da Foz, but also the actuality. And I think there's no more words to say here. I think the video is quite elucidative. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ana Paula, for all the efforts that you put into the video. For those who are here in the room, the video will be available, is already available in the room next to this one. For those who are at home watching, we will present the video online and we'll share with everyone. Also to complement, we also have another video that is a cut from the National Geographic documentary that is a testimonial about the codfish work in the 60s, if if I'm not,
60s,
in the 60s.
in 60s at Newfoundland.
So it's this testimonial that's a very unique experience. So now I'll give the floor to Sandra and Antonio to present their collaboration.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm sorry, but I'm not, you cannot see me. I'm asking, could you please, we have our camera on. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay.
Can you see us?
No.
No, just the voice.
Okay, we are going to try. But our camera is on, I believe. It's
Okay,
on.
well,
We don't know what is.
We don't have technical problems, but we'll keep speaking.
And we are going to show you our presentation, which is in Portuguese. I hope you don't mind. Do we have the opportunity to show you our presentation?
Yes, you can share the presentation within the Zoom. Yes.
Okay. How?
Yeah,
We are trying to understand how we can do it.
It might have a green button that says compartilhar tela.
No, it's not.
It's not here.
We don't have that button.
Well, okay, okay.
All right.
Thank you. Hello there.
Okay. Hello, I'm Sandra. This is Antonio. And we are going to show you our presentation, which is in Portuguese. We are sorry for that, as well as our exhibition is in Portuguese also. But we are going to try to explain you briefly what we have done. And so our project's name is Dizeres, which in Portuguese means telling things, words. It's an expression very difficult to translate. But how it had begun, it was in 2018. Here in Sines, we had a plant who produced electricity from this enterprise EDP. And they had, they still do, have a program which is called Traditions in English, in Portuguese, Tradições. And its goal is to recollect and document all the traditions in the places where they have plants. So we made an application with the help of University of Évora. They helped us in what it means, linguistics and history.
And scientific help, yes.
Yes, they were our partners, valuable partners, because we are archivists, so we are not linguists. And so we began our project. For if you want to know where is Sines, this is a map from the 17th century. And Sines is here, Sines, written with an I, not with an E, like we write now. We don't brought you a more actual map, but you can see it's south of Setúbal, south of Lisbon, and north of Algarve. So we are between worlds. We are between Alentejo, the interior of Portugal, and we are in the seashores.
Yes. And between Algarve and Setúbal, our arbor historically was one of the few in the coast of Alentejo. Small arbor, but it was one of the few that actually worked. And we developed a fisherman community. And also we function as and we still do, especially now we're incredibly important, but at a seaport with the trade, of goods, and especially now with the oil and gas, natural gas also, where it comes here to Sines also. Trade continues with the Terminal 21 container terminal.
Yes, so we have a secular relationship with the sea, and we have a maritime, very important community of fishermen, of longman shore, of people who worked somehow with commerce through our harbor since the Roman period. It's recorded since that period, at least. And so you can see here, it's a small map of our territory. And in this map, we want to show you that our population has come from Alentejo, from Algarve, from Setúbal, as Antonio has said, Zimbra, north of Portugal in Ilhavo, and recently in the 20th century from Cabo Verde, which is an archipelago, I believe it says like this, in Africa, which was an ancient Portuguese colony. And these people came to work here in Sines during the 20th century. So as you can see, we are a small territory, but with many populations and diversities. So to reach our goal, which was to see which were the terms that people in Sines used that were specific to this territory, not to Alentejo or not in Portugal, we used many sources, documents from the municipal archive, books that were written in the 19th century, like this one you can see here with a picture of the ancient harbor in the 19th century. We have used also an inquest to the community. We had this inquest open in a few months, and people answered us with their own expressions, their own dizeres. And it was very interesting because we could complete our own sources. We had also had the results of other projects that the municipality of Sines had developed in the past, like a documentary called Mar de Sines, which you can see, I believe, and it's online.
Yes, you have the small video, the small trailer you have in your exhibition is the trailer from Mar de Sines, which was also one of the sources for this. It was a prior project, and was a source for this project. Many of these projects have to do with talking to the peoples of the community,
and
recalling oral memories and about their livings, about techniques of work. And Mar de Sines was very important because of that. It was co-financed by the ProMar program and by European funds. And during an entire year, we interviewed about 100 people linked to the activities linked to the sea, especially fishermen. And then what we did was from those interviews, besides that project, entered in the project Dizeres, where we could get expressions. We were not directly asking for the expressions. We were taking them from a context of a conversation about work, meaning that we got the expressions from the real context in which they are used.
Yes, and the same philosophy was used by other projects, such as this one, which is in the middle, Mosaico das Memórias. It's like tiles of memories we collected throughout interviews and talks, documents and testimonies from people of Sines. As you can see, we have many activities since fishing, since sports, or just activities, very many activities here in the past that were developed in the past and that they no longer exist. And then we had this project after the revolution of 1974 in Portugal, the Carnation Revolution. They were formed groups of people in each town, sometimes in each street, who had as goal to make improvements on their own neighborhoods. And so this activity, which was voluntary, has produced lots of documents and records that we have been collecting, and we have made another documentary, which is also online. This one it's not translated, only Martins.
Yes, but you can, if you want, you can watch Martins online on YouTube. You just have to write Martins, and you have subtitles in English and other languages.
Yes, if you are curious, you can see.
The documentary is about an hour. And
yes. Okay, and so with all these kinds of sources, and also with the help of Universidade de Évora, we have identified ancient dictionaries of Portuguese since the 18th century, and we have compared our words, our terms, with those who were existing since we don't know when, since Portuguese has existed. And so we have seen with these sources which were the significance of each term and how it was written. And we compared with the present use of those terms. These are some pictures about our field work. Here is Antonio interviewing some ladies here in Sines, and there he's interviewing Mr. Francisco Embero, who is a popular poet, a very interesting person.
yes, normally we also have the help of our colleague, he can be here, Diogo Ziliana, which was a director from the Martins and the other documentaries that we have done.
So this is a picture of Mr. Francisco Embero, which we appreciate so much, and we hope he is okay, because he had helped us a lot. Him and other people from the community that have helped us. So our work was made about 3 realities: our collection, our local reality, and then the scientific work of analysis and comparison. So we have made these sheets for collecting data with all the terms we have found, all of the respondents, and all the documents where we can find those terms. And then we had to exclude terms because we have many of them. You will see in the next slide the amount of terms we had, but we have to exclude some. One, because they were popular here in Alentejo, they were not only from Sines. Others, because they were known from fishermen all over the country, so they were not specific from Sines. Sometimes we didn't understand quite what were the terms. We had doubts on their transcription because they were not used anymore. And sometimes it was corruption of words that already existed, but that were in the formal, the pattern were written in another way, and people, local people had a special form of saying those words. So we have excluded them too.
We selected the terms we selected. They don't have to be exclusive from Sines, because many of them are used either on other places of Alentejo and other maritime communities.
Sorry.
We selected them because they were deeply connected to the activities and to the people here. It doesn't mean necessarily they are not used on other parts of the country, but for us it's important to know what we use and why we use them and in which context, because it's important for our local identity also.
And because its use is disappearing, because these words were used in a specific context, traditional contexts of traditional activities. And nowadays, our population has changed, our activities have changed. And so those words which were used on those specific contexts are also disappearing. Not the words, but their use.
Yes, and because of the context is disappearing. One example are the pork factories that existed. since the mid-19th century in Sines, and then in the mid the 20th century they started disappearing, and you have less and less people now that understand those terms in the community that were normally until the 60s, 70s, most people knew what they meant, but now because the activity disappeared, those words are disappearing too from the use.
So our goal was to recollect those words and try to make a correspondence with their original context. And so this graphic, and you can see we had collected 239 terms, and we have excluded 386 ones. So we have a glossary with length. We have published it. The version of the glossary, which is online, doesn't have all the terms. And why? Because we try to make a correspondence between the term and the documents we had on archive. So each entry of our glossary has a small definition, a small transcription of the speech where the term appears, and a picture for that the people can understand what was that term we were talking about. It's online, it's in Portuguese, I'm sorry again, and you can find it here in this reference. We are thinking that we must have a second edition because since 2019, we have found new terms, new context to recollect. So maybe in the future, we will write a second edition. We don't know yet. And here are some examples. We have divided our glossary in 3 chapters. One is called The Sea, o mar, and it's about all the activities that people had in relation with the sea. They were fishermen, there were women who worked in the factories that produce conservas. This means those little cans with fish, canned fish that soldiers on the Second World War ate. They were, some of them were Portuguese, and they were produced here in Sines and in Algarve. And so we have plenty activities linked to the sea. And so here you can see a picture of many men, and one of them has this particular hat of metal, and this particular hat was used to carry boxes with fish.
These men were called carregas, and they used these hats where they would put the boxes on their heads on top of the hat. In Sines is one of the 2 places that we know of that use this hat. The other place was Sesimbra.
And so we have here a picture and here a diagram of that hat. This was made through a recollection of documents and testimonies in the 80s. And so now we have this recollection to help us understand which were the uses here in Sines before that enormous industrial complex that we have now. The other part, it's a mix. Why? Because we are a community that has that had in the past the sea has its main area of activity. But the sea, before the construction of the harbor, the actual harbor, was a very hard activity. They only could work in the summer because the weather didn't, in the winter, didn't allow them to go fishing. So in the winter, in the autumn, people of Sines dedicated themselves to other activities. And so they had a feet in the sea and a feet in the land. And this is an expression in Portuguese, pé na terra, pé no mar, which we have collected from a poet, a popular poet here in Sines. And we think this expression summarizes what is the Sines identity. 1 foot on land, 1 foot on sea. And here we have a word, praça, which is in English, it means municipal market. It was the place where people would sell fish, fruits, vegetables. And here in Sines, that place is still called praça. We don't say we are going to the market. We say we are going to praça. And so it's a word we still use today.
Yes.
It's not finished, happily. And this is a picture of the Antiga, of the ancient praça. Now we have a new municipal market, but in
which we still call praça. The place changed.
Yes.
We have a building, but it's praça.
Yes,
All the
here-
same.
as you can see, it was
It was a street market.
yes. Now we have a building for it, but we are still calling him praça. And finally, we have the chapter which is called Earth, Terra. Are all those activities, they are particular to the people who didn't have any relation with the sea. There were not so many, but we can find, for example, these activities, domestic activities, like washing the clothes. Here in Sines, we had these currents of water that are, it's fresh water that is going to the sea. And we call those little these little canals of
There were
fresh
two
water.
small ponds,
Yes,
sometimes artificial.
we call this rio, which in Portuguese, it's synonym to river. But here in Sines, rio doesn't mean river because we don't have rivers. But as Antonio was saying, we have this little.
There was little ponds where
Yes.
women would go and wash the clothes.
Yes, and so we recollected this word, rio, and we have a picture of women and children. This was a domestic and feminine activity, washing the clothes. Sometimes it was poor women who washed the clothes for money for wealthier people. And so this also makes part of our identity. So we thank you for your attention. We are sorry again because we only had our presentation in Portuguese, but thank you anyway. You can see our documentary, as I have said, and now I'm going to finish the presentation.
Thank you very much.
So I'd like to thank you again, the municipality of Sines and municipality of Figueira da Foz. I think that we were very, very lucky in the project to have collaborate with both municipalities. I think the work done here so far is a very good and a very good example of this cultural aspect to the project. I just want to also to acknowledge the collaboration of the Trondheim Maritime Museum in Norway, that they also collaborate with us in thinking about this exhibition. We just had some issues about the portfolio of photographs, so we cannot show the photographs here now online. But they did also collaborate with us in this, and they wanted to acknowledge that. So for everyone here who is in the room, I invite you all to watch and to see the exhibition that is available on the cloister next to us, and also the videos, the short version of the documentary, and also the short video about Figueira da Foz and the testimonial. They are all free available. For those who are at home watching, I will share the videos online for you that you have an opportunity. I will give back the words to Professor Dus, the coordinator of the project.
I will not sit. I just want to thank Anatol and our colleagues from Sines for all the hard work they had. And so,
It was a pleasure.
was it? I hope it was. So I will give you a little book and a certificate of participation. You too. You too. And then, and to Sines, whenever I go there, which might be in the near future, I'll also take a book for the three of you for thanking for your wonderful
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you are welcome here in Sines.
for this very catching project that you're involved in, and the certificates will follow by now. Okay? So I think now we will see the video and have fun. Thank you.
Não tá funcionando o clique.
Muito bem, estamos ao final destas primeiras partes do evento. So we arrived at the last parts of our event. For the first part of the 30th, we will now interrupt briefly our transmission. We will come back at around 16:45 for the International Call for Papers presentation. We have 14 really interesting papers that were presented in this call and that were accepted. They range from issues from mediation, maritime mediation, as you know, and sustainable development goals and several approaches, fishing, labor, you will see, and also other papers focus on the specificities of maritime mediation in terms of procedure, and the third one on the new directions for mediation, international this international and online mediation, and also artificial intelligence in mediation, particularly in the maritime field. So keep posted. If you are interested in these areas, we ask you to come back around 4:45 this afternoon. Thank you.